te wangan tanka onchi maye yelo oyate zanichi pelo hey ah oh yeah wa hello hey oh.
Welcome to Native Strength. I'm Hayapesha Lee. Almost 20 years ago, I was honored to be named Blessed Woman for the Lost River Band of the Cherokees. As a Blessed Woman, I taught the people to speak Cherokee, sing traditional songs, and heal with plants. I ran sweat lodges, held sacred pipe ceremonies, and performed healings. But one of the most fulfilling things I did was to help the people master their emotions and do amazing things with the power of the mind. There are many kinds of alien technology that we humans have reverse engineered, including a metal that is almost indestructible, made of niobium, and maronite, which is found in oil shale deposits. Alien technology can be tangible, like a new element, or it can be in the form of knowledge, like advanced mathematics. We live in a dual world, one that is both physical and non-physical. And when we die, our physical world ends, but the soul goes on. So the most important piece of alien technology that was given to us centuries ago by the Star People is the information that can help our soul to evolve. This knowledge also brings us happiness and peace. And this information can help us to activate the parts of our DNA that lie dormant. Now, you may have heard that the body is in the mind and seen TV shows or movies about people who can do extraordinary things. Today, we can point to a few people who can exhibit these abilities. By 1997, thousands of children in China were recognized who could make objects move through glass, cause rosebuds to spontaneously bloom, and flawlessly read a page ripped from a random book, folded and placed under their arm 100% of the time. Representatives from Omni and Nature magazines examined these children and found them to be authentic. There are those who have such mastery of self that they can withstand extreme temperatures. The University of Singapore reports core body temperatures can be controlled by the brain using breathing techniques taught by Tibetan Buddhist monks. Wim Hof, known as the Iceman, has spent 1 hour and 52 minutes submerged in ice and climbed Kilimanjaro in his shorts. Master Zhou can make water in a cup come to a boil simply by holding it. He can also cure tumors with his hands. Isamachi was filmed using his sword to cut through a BB pellet that had been fired at him from a gun. The footage played back shows that he anticipates where the pellet will be before the gun is fired. So in essence, he sees the future. Now, you may have no need to boil water with your hands or climb a mountain in your underwear, but it would be nice to not be affected negatively by people and situations beyond your control, now wouldn't it? It would also be nice to know what's coming in the future in order to be prepared. Native Strength can teach you to do that. It all starts with learning the inner workings of the most important person in your world, yourself. This information has been suppressed for many reasons. People are much easier to control when they have low self-esteem and are depressed. People in positions of power like their orders to be followed without question. When people question authority and try different ways of doing things, they rock the boat. The old established ways are threatened, and people that benefit from keeping things the way they are don't like that. If everyone knew how truly wise and powerful they really were, they would not be easily manipulated. When we are kept in the dark and cut off from this knowledge, our power is severely limited. The problem is that this path leads to self-destruction. Many people commit suicide, but the big problem will be when we destroy our planet with nuclear war. All of this can be avoided by evolving and maturing. This power is not outside of you. It can't be found by turning to something or some other person. Now, some may say that this power can be found by turning to religion, but emotional pain, anger, fear, and frustration occur in even the most devout among us. Spirit cannot take away our emotional pain any more than it can take away the pain of a broken leg. There can be much comfort in taking our pain to Spirit, undoubtedly, yet it is up to us to learn how to cope with our pain. That's the whole point. If Spirit did it for us, we wouldn't learn anything. It's just like the child who has hunger pains in his belly and his loving caregiver provides a meal. If caregivers never allow children to go through the trial and error of learning to prepare their own food, the caregivers have done the child a disservice. Such children will never learn. Such children will never feel the joy of providing for their own needs, and such children will never grow to their full potential. We are put here on earth to learn and to help our soul to evolve. Spirit wants us to grow, to be our best. Spirit wants us to be able to comfort ourselves. It is often through trials and tribulations that we mature and grow. Just as our physical challenge provides us the opportunity to expand our physical abilities, thereby making us stronger, so it is with our emotions. If we never experience emotional challenges, we will rarely, if ever, have a chance to learn and grow. Furthermore, if we never have heartache and sadness, our capacity to experience the full heights of joy will be greatly diminished. If we don't work our muscles until they are tired, they will never grow stronger. Sometimes we may even get cramps in our muscles that may hurt so much they wake us up in the night, but we know it's just our muscles getting stronger, and so it is with our emotional strength. We may still cry from emotional pain, but it's just like the pain in our body. We will actually be getting stronger with each tear. We are learning, and wisdom is strength. Native strength methods given to us by the Star People empower the individual to fully understand their own thoughts and the logical consequences of our actions. They provide us with ways to find solutions that are unique to the individual. These tools were given to us in hopes that they would be used to help us to evolve and grow past the need for war. In order to stop fighting others, we must first stop fighting ourselves. We're often our own worst enemy. We learn to care for ourselves physically as we grow, but for some reason, it's acceptable in society for people to continue to seek help with their emotions instead of acquiring tools for self-awareness and self-maturity. In the same way that we are now becoming more aware of the benefits of medical practices from other cultures, such as acupuncture, there are other ancient and respected approaches to emotional health, ones that have been around for centuries, much longer than the contemporary mental health care system. Here is the first and most important step. We have been told that people who hear voices are mentally ill, yet when we read words on a page, we hear a voice in our head that makes sense of the letters we see. We hear voices that remind us of important things, and we may hear voices of our parents and teachers reprimanding us as they did in the past. Did you know that there are 23 registered U.S. patents for devices that can introduce foreign voices into your mind electronically and manipulate your nervous system, that have been issued as far back as 1956? Now, while most of us may feel as though no one would ever have any reason to use one of these devices on us, it can be comforting to know that this first step on the native strength path is the key to virtually deactivating all of these devices. When you are familiar with your own inner voices, your 6 inner personas, and your fear feeders, you will know immediately when a foreign thought has been introduced into your mind. And you will be able to fight this technology successfully. This knowledge gives us access to the unconditional love and understanding we all crave and deserve. Rather than pretend these voices don't exist, Great knowledge can be gained by making sense of these voices. Now, some voices are to be ignored. Some are from the past. But there are very important voices that have imperative things to tell us, to help us on our path. They can help us to remember the plan our soul made for this life and show us ways to make our journey easier. They can show us what may happen in the future so we can prepare for it or avoid it. The most important of these are our inner personas. When we deny our inner personas and refuse the wisdom and advice they can give us, we go through life blind. This causes us to feel alone in the world because we're cut off from our own inner wisdom. We seek approval from others. The void created by ignoring our own inner personas cannot be filled by anyone or anything. And so we have a lot of emotionally unbalanced people in the world. The nightly news is filled with stories that demonstrate this. Many people pretend they have never felt unbalanced, but all of us, including the highly intelligent, the powerful politicians, and authority figures, are all capable of feeling deep emotional pain. Every human being has felt insecurity, grief, sadness, anger, resentment, frustration, self-pity, and all the other emotions on the spectrum. It's just part of living. We are not flawed because we have felt these feelings. The purpose of life is to learn, to grow, to evolve and mature, to discover enlightenment, and to become more godlike. And to do that, we must first and foremost discover and address our inner pain. Pain is our first teacher. Pain motivates us to seek comfort. As a baby, the pain of hunger makes us cry out, and so we are fed. We are wet, and so again we cry and are cleaned and dried. As we mature, we learn to fulfill these needs on our own. Our pain has prompted our growth. As we try new things, we may scrape our knee. Our loving caregivers clean the wound with antiseptic and cover it with a Band-Aid to protect it. They wipe our tears. They tell us they're sorry we got hurt and give us love and attention. They may even give us ice cream and a chance to watch our favorite movie to distract us from the pain. And this is how we learn to cope with our sadness, anger, grief, and other emotional trauma throughout our lives. We seek out attention from others. We find ourselves eating chocolate and enjoying lavish meals. Some might decide to use substances that numb the pain, allowing them to temporarily forget how distraught they are. The problem is that we need to treat ourselves the same way a loving caregiver would. We need to tell ourselves we're sorry we got hurt. We need to gently wipe away our own tears and give ourselves time to nurture ourselves. We don't need substances or attention from others. Native American traditions, among many others, believe that if we do not learn the lessons we are destined to in this lifetime, we will have to try again until we get it right. We can't move on to the next step in our soul's evolutionary process until we master our assignments. And we cannot escape the great round. There are no shortcuts. Just like one cannot walk before they crawl, we can't fly before we are ready. Living exposes us to pain. No one lives life in a safe bubble. We can be hurt because someone has lied, disappointed us, was rude to us, or was just plain cruel. It really doesn't matter if it causes us pain. What does matter is how we react to it. To bury emotional pain will only cause it to grow and fester. It's like a bank account that we make a deposit to each time we're hurt. Now, this is not an account that we want to accumulate. We want our balance to be zero. When an issue causes a small amount of pain or discomfort, there may not be a need to bring it to our complete and focused attention. Don't put it in the bank. Let it go. However, If it's something that we think about at the end of the day when we are struggling to go to sleep or when we are trying to enjoy a good time with friends, then it's crying for our tender, loving care. Perhaps it's not another who has brought us pain, but our own activities. There's an old Cherokee prayer in which one asks God for the strength to fight our greatest enemy, ourself. There's a medicine story called The Flowering Tree that illustrates how the psyche works. The emotions are like a little boy and girl that must be reasoned with. Now, in this medicine story, it's very important to keep in mind that all characters are part of ourselves, inside our own skin. This story will introduce you to your inner personas. And knowing your inner personas is the first step in making the wheel of life, or the Star Maiden circle, come to life. The people did not trust each other and were not friendly to one another. We can often be mean to ourselves, even calling ourselves names. They had all heard about a very powerful person who lives by the river, and this person could straighten out all problems. But no one wanted to admit that they had any problems, so when they needed help, they had to sneak down to the river so no one else would see them. Our ability to comfort and solve our problems is hidden from us. It's common in Native tradition, regardless of tribe, to go down to the river when we want to be alone or when something is troubling us. So going to the river means seeking comfort in this story. One day, a little boy and girl come back from the river and start talking about the person who lives down there. The people all act like the children are lying, even though they all know they are right. Sometimes we may tell ourselves we are capable of facing anything, but then we hear ourselves say we're deceiving ourselves. Sometimes we may tell ourselves we have a godlike, powerful quality, and then we hear ourselves say we're being ridiculous. The children get scared and feel like their own mother and father do not know them. The people are so disturbed by what the children said that they pack up camp and move away, leaving the children alone on the prairie. When we deny our inner children and elders, we leave part of us behind as we go to deal with our daily life. The prairie symbolizes our daily life. Our inner children are playful and enjoy life. They're emotional and need attention. The Navajo call them the little gatherers of beauty because they give and receive beauty. This is the part of us that enjoys the sunset and smells the roses. It's the part of us that isn't afraid to take a leap of faith or enjoy an adventure. As the boy and girl sit alone crying, an old man coyote and an old woman coyote come to give them comfort. They give them a lodge and fire to keep them warm, and they feed them some buffalo meat. Then they explain that they are the person by the river. The children could then see that they are not coyotes, but that they're just wearing coyote robes. The inner elders are sometimes unrecognizable to us at first. We may attribute their wisdom to some other external source. The wise elders are great communicators, visionaries, and prophets. They're loving, gentle, and kind. We gain access to them through introspection and intuition, and this is what notifies us when danger is near. If we try to listen to them, they will speak louder and more frequently. They're your gut instinct. They're what makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up when you must be on guard. They can see further into the future than you can imagine, and not only guide you accordingly, but prepare the stage for your plan of action if you learn how to work with them. The elders comfort the inner children. They provide for them and nourish them just as they did when we came to them for help in the past, when they were down by the river. The boy and girl say that when they went to the river, all they saw was themselves there. And the old man and woman say that yes, that was true. The children are confused until they realize that the old man and woman are their own reflections. The old man and woman take off their coyote robes and give them to the children. Now the children want to go to find their people to give them the coyote robes. They discover that they themselves are the person by the river, and now the children have to find the people to give them this teaching, that they are also the person by the river. The teaching is symbolized by the robes. The next day, the children find their people and they offer them the robes. But coyote robes are very common, and so no one is interested. Our inner elders are too busy with daily life to see the need for pursuing paths to inner wisdom and happiness. They think it's much more important to pay the bills and clean the house than to find inner peace and strength. It's very easy to get caught up in the physical demands of life. But when we get to the end of our path, we could find we have not followed the plan our soul made for this life before we were born. We could find we did everything society demanded of us at the expense of our heart's desire. Finally, one kind man and one kind woman take the robes and try them on. As soon as they do, the man says he can see buffalo in the north and the south. The woman puts on her robe and says that she can see buffalo in the east and the west. As soon as we have a little wisdom, we see knowledge all around us that we eagerly want to acquire. Some of the people wanted to go hunt in the east, while others wanted to go west. Another group argued that the best hunting was in the north, while still others said that it was in the south. They fought over which was the biggest herd, and they would not stop their arguing. Parts of us want to go learn the knowledge of the north, wisdom. Other parts are more interested in knowing the West, the physical body, intuition, and introspection. Still others want to learn the East, illumination and enlightenment. The rest want to learn the South, music, art, justice, and mastery of the emotions. All are important and powerful, but equal. To become a well-rounded individual, our experiences need to encompass all directions on the wheel of life, but we can't learn it all at once. The little boy and girl try to tell them that they are only tricking themselves. They would see if they would just put on the robes. The people decide the trouble was all caused by these four: the boy and the girl, and the man and the woman who first put on the robes. They decide to kill them. When we first see this wisdom, we're excited by it, and then easily discouraged, and decide it's easier to go back to blissful ignorance. The work of learning all four directions is too difficult, too complicated, too time-consuming. It's easier to just kill the desire. They rush to the center of the camp to get the four, but when they get to them and the dust clears, they find the boy and the girl have been turned into a flowering tree. And the man and the woman are two mountain lions who run to the north. The people decide to go after the mountain lions and kill them. The desire for wisdom cannot be killed. It hides from us when necessary in order to keep its fire burning. The people follow the tracks of the two mountain lions until they turn into the tracks of four. They follow these tracks until they discover that they have gone full circle and are right back at the flowering tree. The tracks represent balance. We must learn to balance our desire for knowledge first. It's like when tightening screws around a large circular object. When trying to secure a large flat metal object to another, it can't be done by fully tightening one screw after another around the edge. That will make it off balance. You may decide to tighten one in the north a little first, and then the south, then the west, followed by the east. Then you move on to the non-cardinal directions, and then you must go back to the north and fully tighten it, followed by the other screws. If you tighten the first screw all the way, the large flat disc won't be level, and our learning is very similar. The people talk, asking one another why they were doing what they were doing. No one really knows. They say they were only following one another. We are so busy with our daily life, working to make a living, taking care of our families, that we don't remember why we decided not to follow the path to better understanding our own mind, why we do what we do. Finally, we do question our choices. And then the people hear singing coming from the south, and they look in that direction. They see a red coyote. We acknowledge our emotions instead of running from them, and we start to feel a little bit better. Then they hear music to the west. When they look, they see a black coyote singing, and together they learn its song. Now we are beginning to feel physically stronger. Then they hear another song coming from the north, and they see a white coyote singing there. We have become aware of our own inner wisdom and are now actively learning from it on a regular basis. They hear still more singing in the east, and when they look, they see a gold coyote singing his song. We have begun our path to enlightenment. They learned the songs the coyotes were singing, and together they were happy. We learn the lesson of balance within each direction more fully, and we begin to experience happiness. When we start to communicate with our inner personas, it may be difficult at first. We are forging a path in the woods, and the bushes and weeds have had many years to grow. The more often we communicate with these parts of ourselves, the clearer our path will become. It won't be long before talking with our inner personas becomes second nature. When communicating with the inner personas, we must first beware of the fear feeders. These are voices that feed on your fears. They are not your inner personas. The more you allow them to speak, the more you empower them, and the more you listen to them, the stronger your fears will become. There's an old Cherokee story a grandfather tells his grandson. There are two wolves inside each of us. One is good and loving. He gives to the people and provides for his family. He is kind to everyone. The other wolf is greedy, jealous, and mean. He steals from people and fights with everyone he meets. These two wolves are always fighting inside us. After some thought, the child asks, "Which one wins?" The wise grandfather replies, "The one you feed." When the fear feeders are strong, the inner personas have to compete with them to be heard. Don't feed the fear feeders by giving them a voice. Think about the 5 aspects of your life: physically, emotionally, intellectually, spiritually, and creatively, which is also sexually, as well as within the arenas of your life: your family, your social group, religion, your government, and your economy. And this is where you may get some great insights. When you're done, congratulate yourself on taking an important step towards your happiness. Now, most people will have a tendency to put this exercise off. They will promise themselves that they will do it and will set aside a perfect time and place. It's far better to do bits and pieces of it in less than ideal situations. We're creating a path to a part of us that has been abandoned and ignored. The desire to create the right time and place can be an obstacle our subconscious places on our path that furthers this separation. It's as if we are afraid to take the first step. We instinctively know that we have not done right by these personas, and so we want to make it up to them by preparing the perfect time and place to meet. But it's like the child who does not long for the lavish vacation as much as some simple time alone with undivided attention in the same old apartment. We strive to be like the grass that bends with the wind and does not break. Love yourself. You deserve it. After all, just look at all the things you have survived and how far you have come.